This channel does not promote or encourage any illegal activities. All contents provided by this channel is meant for educational purpose only.
Let's talk about Facebook OSINT. Now, Facebook OSINT is difficult to keep up with. There used to be a lot of graph searching that just does not exist anymore. And now we're kind of in this cat and mouse game with Facebook as they update the capabilities to search the platform and to gather information off the platform. It's not a bad thing. It's bad for the investigator, but it's good for privacy. So it's kind of this cat and mouse game right now. And I'm going to show you the techniques and some of the things that I know. And some of it might be kind of obvious. Some of it's just kind of where the trends are. And I'll show you a couple tools that might help you with searching. And we can kind of go into the weeds a little bit. So let's go ahead and go out. Now, for Facebook, I actually do not have an account. So we're just going to use a fake account that I have, and we're going to just kind of search through it. So this is my fake Facebook account, and I think when everybody does OSINT, everybody, if you go watch OSINT tutorials, everybody picks Mark Zuckerberg as like the thing to do. It's like the hello world of Facebook OSINT apparently. So I'm just going to stick with the trends because I don't want to dive into real people. Not that he's not a real person, but I want to make sure that I don't dive into anybody too not famous, if that makes any sense. So what we're going to do is we're just going to try to find him. That's the first thing that we want to do up here. So we're just going to go to search and we're just going to say Mark Zuckerberg. All right. And we'll search for Mark Zuckerberg and see what happens. Now we're just getting all sorts of posts that come up, right? We're getting posts, we're getting articles, we're getting all kinds of information here about Mark Zuckerberg. And this could be good if we're doing an investigation and looking for somebody specific, but maybe we want to find his profile. So we'll go to people first. Now we can specify even more down here. We could say, hey, I want to look at the city. I want to look for somebody with specific education or work. So if you know something about somebody, like, hey, I know Mark Zuckerberg went to Harvard, but he has it here as well, you might want to put in education that, I'm looking for Mark Zuckerberg from Harvard. And we can update the search and see if he shows up. And sure enough, he's the only one that shows up. Okay, so there's one way of searching. You can come through here. We can also come through and say, hey, I want to look at photos of Mark Zuckerberg. And these are public photos. Obviously, this could be people that have posted this. It doesn't have to be coming from his account in particular. So we don't know where these are coming from, but it's always good to look at videos, marketplace, pages, groups, etc. Anything on the side here that you think you could click into. I think we're kind of at the point now where some of this is redundant, so I'm not going to keep hammering home the different things that we can click on, but just think about what you might want to click on here. Now, I'm going to open up Mark's page, and because we're going to talk through a little bit of this, I'm going to just kind of come over here and right click it and open it in a new tab. And we have Zuckerberg here. You could see facebook.com/Zuck. We'll talk about that in a second. The other thing that I want to point out is that you can search different things. So we have Mark Zuckerberg and we look at photos, right? But these are public photos. What you can do, a little trick, is you can come in here and you could say something like photos of Mark Zuckerberg. And then you're going to have not just the photos that you were seeing, but you're going to have photos that people tagged him in. Now, this is super interesting because if this person has a super restrictive profile, like say we clicked on their user here and we couldn't see anything, there's no pictures, which is very common with Facebook. Facebook is now super restrictive. A lot of times when you go to somebody's page, unless they've intentionally made it public, you don't get to see much. So Mark Zuckerberg obviously has a very public page. But for us, if we wanted to see somebody maybe that was out there that had a public page, we could take a look at this. And I was looking through this earlier. This is very interesting. You come through here and you say, okay, photo of Mark Zuckerberg. Look, this only has 2 likes. This only has 4 shares. And this was from 2006. Okay, this is like early era Facebook. This is like Facebook when it still had .edu addresses Facebook. So this account, by the way, has been on Facebook for a long time as well. If you open it up, you can see, hey, his name is Aaron. So you can imagine that he's been on there for quite some time. Now, if we're thinking about this, somehow, some way, at some point, Aaron and Mark interacted. Now, this is 14 years ago, but they still interacted. And that's the benefit of if we were just looking at photos with Mark Zuckerberg, we might not see that. Where if we looked at photos of Mark Zuckerberg, we might see all the different places he was tagged. Look, here's another one. I don't know exactly what their connection is, but clearly they were together at some point. This was in 2005, so you can see that this was even earlier. So they go way back, right? And then you can see here, this looks like more of a, yeah, I say more recent photo. So here is a more recent photo from 2019. Another person that has met him tagged him in a picture. Now he's very famous, so he might get tagged quite a bit on a site like this. But even to see, like, look at these photos from Harvard. This is 2005. He's posting these photos of himself, but some of these photos could be from somebody else. Like this is from 2012. So it's very interesting to see the different things here on these websites. So another thing that I want to point out is there are a couple of search engines that we can use to kind of sift through some of this stuff. Now, one of these is this Sawdust on GitHub, and I'll post a link to this below. And this intellex.io has is a great resource, by the way, as like an overall kind of resource, but it's good that it has a Facebook search as well. And it has kind of like this built in. If you look at the alternate, it's based on the Sawdust code. So it is like a 2-in-1 tool. It just has all this already, but I'll provide them. So it says, hey, look, you need to be logged into Facebook. You can search for a particular post by keyword, by month, by interval, and then by UID. So there's not a whole lot that you can search for. You can see like it's so limited nowadays in what you can do. So there's only some tips and tricks that you might want to look through. But you can come down here and you can look at the posts and you can look at different things. Like say we want to look for posts. Now we want to look through posts by a specific user. It says entity. Well, we need an entity ID. We can still filter by date, filter by keyword, and this will do the search for us. We have to make sure that we have a keyword in here, and I'm going to show you how to get to the key or the entity ID here in a second. But I know that his entity ID is 4, and then we'll just come in here and type in a keyword. We'll just say something like Harvard. We know he went to Harvard, so I want to see posts about Harvard from Mark Zuckerberg himself. So let's open up in a new window, and let's see what happens. Okay, so it looks like we don't really get a whole lot here, and this isn't that great of from him. Like I don't see anything in here that actually ties to Mark. So these searches are kind of hit or miss. The thing is, though, you don't want to leave this blank because actually, this is why. Let's add a filter and then let's try to open this up. Let's see if I screwed up here. Okay, so here is our post about Harvard. And this is the thing that makes it interesting is like, see, you had to be very specific here with the post or else we were limited. So my mistake was actually a good example here. But here you can see where he's talking about Harvard. You can limit that to a specific date and time. Like here, these are all from 2017, 2015, but maybe you're looking for like 2013. You come in here and limit that date. If you don't put anything in here, it'll put a wildcard, and this does not usually return anything. Yeah. The wildcard search feature, for whatever reason, has stopped working. You can see that it's pulling down Mark Zuckerberg, but it's not pulling anything down. Now, there are features that you can go out there and use tools to pull down the ID of an account, which you see I have the ID of 4 here. There's actually a quick way to do it, too, that I kind of just want to show you. You could Google a tool and say, hey, I want to know the ID of this account. It takes a little bit. If you just right-click on a user's page and you say to view the page source, you can come in here and all you have to do is a Control F. And then if you search user ID like this, you can see that it comes up right away. 4, right here. User ID 4. So it should be one of the first things that you see. Here's the user vanity, the Zuck, and I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see it real quick. But like you can see the user vanity is Zuck, but the user ID is 4. We can no longer search on user vanity. We can only search on the ID. So that's where this is becoming important if you want to use tools like this to use the ID number. Now, of course, yeah, this could change immediately after releasing this because Facebook does change so much. Actually, let me make this a little bigger. But say we do find a person's profile. I've kind of gone bouncing around a little bit. Say we do find a profile. We want to look around, want to see what we can find out about a person. A lot of information here about Mark, who he's married to. You could see the different, he's a founder and CEO, where he works, where he went to school, where he lives, where he's from. You could see different pictures of him, life events, You can look through his friends and see if there's any correlation between his friends and who he knows. There's also any of the again, photos, videos. You can come to more and you can see where he's checked in. So has he checked in somewhere? Here's all the places he's checked in and been. You could see if he's checked in somewhere recently, where he's going, where he's gone. Does he like sports? Well, who are his favorite athletes? You can find out all kinds of information, and this could be just you don't know where this could end up being useful. So, if you have the opportunity of finding a public Facebook profile like this, it's always good to jot down as much information as you can. And again, when you're looking at photos, remember pictures say 1,000 words. You can see all kinds of stuff from just looking into a photo. Like here, it could be a challenge to say, hey, where is he at? Obviously, he's at the European Parliament. He's telling you, but you could say, hey, where is he at in the world right now? And if you do any sort of uh, like the CTS for like Trace Labs or one of those type deals, you might come across users' photos and pictures, and it might say, hey, what kind of phone do they have, or where are they? Where are they at? Where was their last known location? Can you get a picture of a vehicle or anything along those lines? So if you can identify that, it really helps. One time I was doing a Trace Lab CTF and I saw somebody on their Facebook page had a selfie, and the selfie reflected behind them, the back window reflected back of their car, and you were able to actually make out the model of the car on the steering wheel based on the selfie. So it's very interesting on what you can determine from a picture, especially when somebody's just thinking, "Oh, I'm taking a selfie in a car," when really you're giving out a lot of information on what kind of car they're in, maybe what kind of day was outside, what kind of phone they have. There's a lot of information that can be found. So if you do find a public Facebook profile, look through it. Otherwise, the photos feature is a very good feature to search through if you go through the photos of, and you just kind of look through and try to see who knows who, how do they know them, try to tie it down. Sometimes, if you go to a friend's, they might not have any friends that are public or you can't see it. So if it's really locked down again, you might have to kind of just make this assumption. Again, with the trace labs, a lot of times when we're looking for like a missing person, we might find the missing person and it might be locked down, but we might be able to find photos of them or look through family members or find something where they're interacting or they're posting recent pictures of them. And then we know, hey, maybe this person isn't missing anymore or something along those lines. So there's a bunch of different scenarios that could happen, but these are just kinds of things that I've seen as I've been going through it. So again, there's not a ton as it's getting more restrictive for Facebook, but there's still options out there to look through. I feel like a lot of it's obvious, so I don't want to hammer down on all of these, but just do your due diligence when you're doing research on Facebook and make sure you can try to track down as much information as possible, and then use the little tricks I showed you by viewing the source, and then you can utilize that for some of these other tools that will help you search through it and maybe get through some of this a little bit easier. So that is it for this video, and that's it for the Facebook OSINT. We're going to move on into the next social media platform. See ya.